So today I'm talking to Kate, who is a certified sleep consultant, and Kate's going to share with us some top tips for combating jet lag when you're travelling with your family.
Cool. Hi. Yes. So for me, the prospect of travelling has always been a bit of a daunting thing. So whenever I kind of advise people that I've been chatting to about this, it's always like first thing is to be cautiously pessimistic, but also optimistic at the same time, because you're going to have to travel and you're going to have to get there. It's just about what you do along the way and how you deal with it once you're there. So it's always worth kind of preparing for the journey, but not worrying about it too much, if that kind of makes sense. So the first kind of tip I have is about getting there. So the journey is inevitable. You're going to have to kind of keep going with it and ride it out however long it might be. But make sure you're prepared in the sense of just doing whatever you can to get through it. So that might mean throwing some of those rules that you have for normal days out of the window. So perhaps a little bit more time on the iPad, perhaps, kind of bringing along new toys. A little trick that someone told me once was about wrapping up toys, even if it's just cheap toys that you've bought from, like a pound shop or something like that, or old toys that have been forgotten. If you put them into kind of like tissue paper or old wrapping paper, the actual act of unwrapping them can take up some time. So what you're trying to do is absorb that time with something that, your child might want to do independently. So basically doing whatever you can to get through the journey and not worrying too much about it. Snacks, whenever, doesn't matter, just do it. And kind of linked with that, if you've got a child that's napping, then again, just do whatever you can to get them to sleep. So you can imagine the scenario whereby you're on the plane and your child is desperately tired and they just won't go to sleep. So what you want to do is just basically go, right, okay, I'm just going to walk down the aisle, go and find a quiet space, hopefully, and just make it happen. The air hostesses normally are really, really good. If you're on the plane, they'll help you. They'll kind of try and help you appease the child, or perhaps sort of kind of accommodate for anyone who might be getting a bit upset next to you. So things like that with naps are just more important for them to sleep. It doesn't matter how they sleep. So don't worry about naps, just get it done, basically. Yeah, and then the next kind of point really is just all about if you're changing time zones. So if you're going in kind of within your own country, then it's not so much of a bother because you're probably not going to switch across a big time zone. But jet lag is obviously a big thing, and it can really affect children, as well as it does adults. But don't worry about it before you go. So my advice is always to get on the plane and then change your watch. So the minute you step on the plane in your kind of home country or home destination, then you would change your clock to the new time zone and then act as if you're on the new time zone from there. And because it's all about trying to get the body to kind of act in the new way, because the circadian rhythm, which is basically the fancy word for body clock, needs to kind of readjust. If you try and do it too far in advance, it's just going to screw up your last few days at home. So just get on the plane, change your watch, and then act as if you're in the new time zone. So that, again, with naps might mean that you're trying to do it at slightly odd time of the day. But if you can just even get your child to have a bit of quiet time around the time that you want them to be napping, then it'll help them their body to understand more that, kind of this is going to be how it's going to be for the next sort of time. So yeah, don't worry about it too much before you get on the plane, and then kind of crack on from there. Yeah, well, once you're there, so you then, ideally, if you're traveling, you want to land in daytime, so that you've got some natural light to play with. And the reason to do that is because it's all, again, about trying to adjust the body clock, so the circadian rhythm. So light helps the body understand that it's daytime, which sounds a bit obvious, but it's true in the sense that your body is all controlled by what goes on in your head, and therefore the natural sunlight that you will get when you're out and about will mean that they'll know that it's time for being active, not for sleeping. So if you can land in, ideally, suppose afternoon kind of time, you can then have some active time, in your new time zone, out in the fresh air. You're kind of enjoying a bit of the sunshine so that the body gets used to being awake. And then you can, what you need to do then is then play with going to sleep at nighttime. So you want to be obviously working into the new time zone, but you want to be getting your child into sort of a dim or duskier light a couple of hours beforehand. We always take our travel blackout blind with us, because you just don't know what you're going to rock up to. So if you've got space, and I know a lot of people are traveling light, so if you've got space to take your blackout blind with you, and there are various travel ones that you could get, then take it with you, just because it's like an insurance policy almost. If there isn't one when you get there, then you want to be kind of covering up the windows with anything. Basically, that could be like a spare blanket or a towel, because fundamentally the difference between any kind of light creeping in and the duskiness that we want at bedtime, or in the middle of the morning when they might be kind of waking up from a normal body clock occurrence, then you want to kind of mask that as much as possible. And that the reason to do that is because the body clock also needs to try and adjust to going to sleep at a different time. And dusky light produces melatonin, which is the hormone that helps us fall asleep. So again, you're trying to help the body understand that there's something new going on. So you would do that and avoid any kind of screen time as well, because there's a blue light that's emitted from screens and that inhibits melatonin. So ideally kind of making sure that your child maybe has a quiet activity for at least an hour before bedtime, to help them sort of readjust and kind of be able to settle a bit easier. It's always the case that perhaps the first couple of days are going to be a bit tough. You want to kind of crack on with your own schedule so that you're sort of dictating to the body what's happening. If you've got a young child that's got lots of naps going on, you might need to flip things around a little bit, but just trying to stick more strictly to what the new time zone gives you is the best way of doing it. You might find the next day everyone needs to have a nap at a bit of an odd time, but just crack on and try and get back into that into the new time zone. Should only take, like I say, a couple of days really to readjust.
Thank you so much, Kate. Great advice. And I'll put Kate's details underneath this video. So if you want to get in contact with Kate, you can have a one-on-one consultation over Skype or Zoom, and she can help you with your family's sleep issues.
Definitely.